Hi, welcome to Cherie's weight loss journey. We're getting out before it gets warm again. Just for a short walk. Today I woke up to some information on inner world and outer world. I could only think that this is something that was produced by millennials, because they were trying to hack an interpretation of what it means to be a guru, right? Buddhist, Hinduism, okay? They were trying to hack that, and the way that it was coming across was, in my opinion, disgusting. Hold on. What was disgusting about what they were saying was, they were saying that it was somebody's thinking that made them cause all the problems here in the world, right? And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Right? Because I argue it's that they didn't take enough time to thoroughly think out their thoughts, right? They were like, oh, I like that. They were impulsive. They went after it. You know, they thought about doing it and they went after it. That's it. They wasn't worried about consequences. They wasn't worried about people's feelings. They wasn't worried about, if it was just a distraction. None of that. And yet, they kept saying throughout the movie that thinking was problematic. And I'm like, why would thinking be problematic? And oh my gosh, they gave all of these examples about how nature is in the world, and how, the stars, formulate in the galaxy, and how animals, and I was like, wait a minute, right? First of all, before we go on, answer me. What distinguishes human beings from the plants and the animals if it's not thought? Second of all, while you're sitting up here telling people, oh, they need to meditate, yeah, you're going to empty your mind, but what good is it to empty your mind of the problems that you need to deal with? The whole process of emptying your mind is to embrace your thoughts and work them out, and if you can't, you can come to terms with knowing that you're going to need help. Because I'm sitting up here trying to figure out, so as human beings, what are we supposed to do? Sit on a lily pad, absent-minded all day long? So then, they started talking about, how everything is, centered from, initiated from your root chakra. And I'm like, okay, cool, right? And then it goes up your spine, and, and that's what they call Kundalini arising, right? And I was like, okay, cool, right? So, you want your instinctual drives, because that's your root. Your root is your instincts, your survival, the way that you see yourself. And you want that to be in alignment, going up through all of your chakras. It sounded great, right? Then they said, but when it gets to the mind, that's where, people failed the lesson. And I'm like, how are you going to have a lesson if you don't have your mind involved? Okay, so I'm tripping off of this, right? I'm like, it still comes back to the mind. So then they go on and they start talking about once they get this, Kundalini surge, once they get this Kundalini surge, that they're gonna feel great. And I'm like, what is that, a climax? Right? What are you gonna do after the climax? Right? So then I thought about it and I said, you know what? My experience, let me tell you about my experience. My experience is that, yes, if you're in alignment, your feelings are your left side of the brain. Your logical thought is your right side of the brain. And that alignment, if your chakras are balanced, will ignite what they call the Crisco oil, which is the Christ consciousness. When that happens, that oil has a tendency to alchemize your both sides of your brain so that you have a larger brain capacity. I don't believe I'm wrong, because I've done it. I've been there. Back down here to let y'all know what it really is. Okay? So, when we get caught up in our feelings, it's like we're rushing after emotions. Emotions are fleeting, right? If we think about the moon goes through a different house in the celestial sky, right? Every 2.5 hours. How fleeting is that? Right? Very few people can hold on to an emotion long enough to not get depressed. Let me rephrase that. Very few people can hold on to a happy emotion long enough without getting depressed. That's what I meant to say. Now, the downside of trying to hold on to an emotion is addiction. Yes, it is. That's why, people get addicted to drugs. People get addicted to sex. People get addicted to anything and everything, as long as they pour their emotions into it and want to keep it forever. Oh, shit. That's why the brain is like the CPU that says, this is too much, cut it back, right? Say you like drinking or eating, your brain has to tell you, yes, the food is good. Yes, you're full now. Cut it out. Cut it. Right? That's what the brain will do. It's the commander in chief. Okay? So when they're like, no, you're supposed to, not think too much, right? And I still say, no. You have to think from beginning to end. You have to think from beginning to end. The people who claim that people are thinking too much are the people who have not thought it out from beginning to end. Once you think something out from beginning to end, now you have the confidence to execute it get the outcome that you wanted, and then move on to the next, right? So I was thinking, I was like, okay, so we're talking about India, we're talking about China, we're talking about overpopulation, we're talking about, people who just don't really have time to do the complete thought unless there's some type of guru or something. So what makes you think that you can actually hack that system? I don't think you can. Now, you can get a percentage of what the gurus actually achieve by hacking. These gurus and these Buddhists, they go into the mountains and they dedicate themselves. They're not even having sex, and yet you guys are saying just the opposite. You're saying your sexual energy is going to get you the Kundalini arising that you're seeking, that others should seek. Okay? And then the last thing I want to talk about is, even if we go scientific, when your brain is dead, you are declared finito. They can replace your heart. They can replace just about every organ in your body. But they haven't been able to replace your brain. Now, I might change what I'm saying if they can actually, replace a brain. But as far as I know, once your brain goes flatline, they're putting a toe tag on your ass. My dog was like, enough, let's go for a walk now. And she was right. So we're out here at the lake, taking a walk. And that's what happens when people, try to hack a system, that so much gets lost in translation. And the sad part about these people is they want to be leaders and guide people down this wicked path, unbeknownst to them, causing these people to stumble. Right? Come on. We'll go this way. Look at that. And even worse than that is they'll package it up and charge them who knows how much money. Telling them that, oh yeah, anything of value, you got to pay for it. Come on. So, I personally think it's disgusting that people would do such things. Come on. I mean, it's one thing to be a salesman, okay? It's one thing to be a salesman, but it's a whole nother thing to sell a lie or a half truth. You know, we don't like it when it happens when people sell us cars or any kind of product and the product doesn't do what it says it's supposed to do. Right? So my thinking is it's like you almost have to, charge them with fraud. Hold on. And then for them to say something such as, people are going to be like absent-minded, empty-headed, refuse to think about what they do. That sounds so reckless and irresponsible to me. And it hits me at my heart because I'm a sapiosexual. What am I gonna do? Well, I ain't worried about it. But I mean, if you're not gonna think, you might as well just throw away IQ test. If you're not gonna think, you might as well throw away the law. If you're not gonna think, you can expect anarchy and chaos. Okay? And that's not going to be my reality. Oh, hell no. Hell no. Because I'm going to tell you, not all of your emotions are good emotions. No, they're not. I can't even tell you how many times I wanted to decapitate somebody. Thank God I thought about it and put on some brakes. And I know you're going to tell me, oh, yeah, that came from your thought. No, it didn't. Came from my instincts. So anyway, I've already done my lightweight exercises. And we're out here having a nice walk. My feeling is if you're going to learn a religion of another culture, please go and live in that culture and learn it there. Trying to recreate another country's religion when religion is based off a culture. And traditions. So what you're doing is you're cherry picking certain philosophies, right? And this, I'm going to tell you something. Yoga is nothing new. Transcendental meditation, it's nothing new. I was doing that since I was Around 4? And I'm 64 now. Y'all didn't start this shit, but you fucking that shit up. Thinking that you got the keys to hack it. Not yet, you don't. Maybe in the future. But now, you don't. So that's why the boomers and the early Generation X, they were doing, miraculous, what seemed like miraculous things, right? Dr. J and Michael Jordan defying gravity. Our break dances was very athletic. Very athletic. Oh, sure. And I bet you the very countries that you're trying to steal and defile their religion, they can't stand your ass. They can't stand your ass. Something that they held sacred. But do you care? You don't care. Because over here in America, you have the freedom of religion. You can make it up if you want to. And you do. I would love to see the person that is able to follow their doctrine to the T and dotting the I's. I would love to see it. But it seems like the majority of you are like, well, we're a work in progress. But this is what we're striving to do. We're striving to be better people. And every other day y'all are asking for forgiveness and mercy. And even in Christianity, where y'all are talking about Jesus said, repent of your sins. He also said, verily, verily, not everybody who calls my name is gonna get saved. He's gonna tell you he never knew you. And then when you decide that you're not perfect, and it's true, you were cherry picking every religion that you got involved in and failed. Then you think that gives you the reason to go buck wild. Right? I caution you. I think you'll get into a wreck. You might hurt yourself. Here's my Snoopy baby. Today, I gotta walk her on a leash. There are people here. And don't get it twisted, right? I'm not one that wants to go back in history. I don't. But I will use it. I'll use references to history to describe situations and outcomes. Because, number one, back in history, like when a king took over, right? When a king took over, he overthrew the reigning king, and his whole family and his subjects were all buried with him. We don't do that today. We just don't, right? So, for those of you who are king of your castle and you're like, oh, are you telling us that we should kill our wives instead of getting a divorce and kill the kids? No, I'm not. See, you're sick in the head. You're sick in the head. But that's what they used to do. Oh, I think it was beginning with, who was that, King Arthur? Right? Every time he wanted a divorce, he would kill his wife. He had about 8 wives. How cute. A ducky with her baby. With her baby. Yeah, it feels humid out here today. So I'm glad we got out here early. What time is it? It's almost 7 o'clock. And doesn't look like we got any dew, at least not over here. So that's what I had on my mind. And that kind of followed up what I was talking about when it came to like religion being the manual guide for families. And, you know, and since so many people, you know, are making mistakes when it comes to relationships, it just seems to me like there should be chapters in the manual on code of conduct after marriage as separated, right? Especially since, people are living longer, people are having 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 marriages, okay? So yeah, I think that's something that, needs to be included, because when I did my research, they really didn't have, information about separated families and, a blueprint, a code of conduct, anything like that. Come on. So, yeah. And that's why they didn't have it. They didn't have it because King James, who came after King Arthur, he thought, well, might as well kill her in the divorce. But he didn't write it. He didn't write that out. They figured some type of ostracizing, throw her out of the village type of action was all that it was going to need. But I think he was wrong.